Sabrina Harris is the compassionate soul behind the House of Loveillionaires. Based in Palm Beach County, this community organization hosts events and shows like I Love Me Some Me, which focuses on the beauty of self-love and purposeful living. The Palm Beach Beat sat down with Harris to better understand the mission of the House of Loveillionaires.
My name is Sabrina Harris, and I am the CEO of the House of Loveillionaires. I am a Florida native, and I was born in Tampa, Florida, but I've been raised here primarily in Riviera Beach. So I am a product of Riviera, as they like to call it, and I resided in West Palm Beach for the past 5 or 6 years. My career is very eclectic. That's the easiest way to say it. It's a jambalaya of a lot of different things, but primarily speaking, in 2003, I decided to go back and pursue higher education. So I started with business. I have an associate's in business management. I have a bachelor's in business administration. And I decided to continue on to master's level, but it was spiritual. I had been through so much in my life, and I always desired entrepreneurship, but God had a different plan for me. And I ended up at Palm Beach Atlantic University in 2005. I enrolled and was accepted into the counseling psychology program. I ended up getting a Master's of Science degree in counseling psychology in 2008. I enjoyed learning so much, and I've always been interested in leadership, so I went back. And I just achieved a second Master's in leadership, and I'm now stepping into dissertation with my doctorate. So the second Master's Palm Beach Atlantic, and now I'm at Argosy University. I've always been driven to help people, but I've always been the type of person that someone would come to and want to talk to. So I've always been that shoulder to lean on, the sympathetic ear, the person who would always have a positive word of advice. Even when I was going through my own trials and tribulations, I've just always desired to be that strong level of support for someone else. So I can basically say it's been underlying my whole life, but I have a history of domestic violence and abuse. I thank God I'm a survivor in that way. And going through that situation and making it out is the thing that really catapulted me into doing this for the rest of my life. The House of Loveillionaires, it's actually very interesting. I was asked back in 2011 to speak to a group of young girls, basically any topic I desired, but something that would be helpful for them in life. And I chose, honestly and truly, to engage them about what it means to be successful, because I know a lot of people have a different perspective on that. And everything about the conversation with those girls that day, they were teen girls, was materialistic. It was the house, it was the car, it was the money, it was all of these things. And around that time, Adolf Merkel, I'll never forget it, he was a German billionaire. And this man had amassed everything that you could possibly think of. I mean, he had all of the accolades, he had all of the materialistic things and everything else. But there was news, a documentary segment on CNN, and basically he killed himself in solitude. Meaning that all of that he'd accomplished, all of the money and everything else, was not enough to make him happy. So the family had been looking for him all of that day, and ultimately they determined that he positioned himself on railroad tracks and a train hit him. So I presented that to them that day, and I said, let's twist the psychology or reverse the psychology. So instead of being a billionaire or a millionaire, how about being a love-illionaire? How about being rich on concepts like love, hope, faith, joy, all of the beautiful things in life? And it took on from there. They were so enamored, like, Loveillionaires. So it's kind of catchy. And we just put the spin of house on it because we have several segments. Dealing with survivors, particularly your self-esteem takes a blow. It's a lot of different things that happen. So we focus on the beauty aspect as well. So we've even had fashion shows for survivors. All of the women who walked the runway were survivors, whether it was domestic violence and abuse, sexual assault, major medical. A lot of the forums, they cater to situations. We've done them on love, forgiveness. Um, we have a concept called Beauty 360 where it's all about loving yourself from the inside out, where you are. I know if people aspire to change, we want to diet, we want to do different things like this, but in the meantime, are you loving yourself and do you deem yourself worthy in that way? So that's really how it started. I basically want things to be available to individuals who need help, who need counseling, who need liaisons, who need assistance and all of it, but to be a tie-in. It's not to say the House of Loveillionaires comes in and stand alone, because we firmly believe in collaboration. We believe that our piece, which is just a bit different from the niches of other people, when we bring them collectively together, we can make a major impact in a positive way. And that's what I begin to see. Some of the people that have contacted me or reached out to me who we work with are absolutely amazing people, but they bring different pieces to the puzzle. A lot of the way that we function within the African American community is passed down. It's generational. I'll use, for example, I have had the opportunity to counsel a lot of people who've been involved in molestation and those type situations. And they would often tell me that the person of interest, or the person that was determined to be the offender, it was known in the family that this person had those tendencies and they had acted on them before. Instead of anyone trying to connect this person with resources or help and counseling and all of these things, it was just this silent, don't leave your daughter around Uncle Johnny. I'll just use that as a coined term, instead of doing something to step in. And a lot of this had passed down. A lot of the cousins had been molested. A lot of the siblings have been molested in these type of families. So what I'd say is that's lacking within our community first is knowledge. The thirst of it, to want to know better. I had to go back to school and learn different concepts and techniques and develop myself. And the willingness to act upon this knowledge once it's gained. But communication. Communication is essential in any type of relationship. If we really want to understand each other and stop assuming and stop judging and stop taking a lot for granted, sit down and have those, what I call, difficult conversations. Ask the tough questions. Make people uncomfortable. But this is where a lot of your answers, solutions, and resolutions ultimately come. Why? Because if I stop assuming you're acting a particular way for whatever reason, or I think this is what you want of me, or etc., and I begin to understand your viewpoint, it will take a lot of the issues and concerns away. So if we stop functioning on what was of old that is not working, we start communicating, and the thirst for knowledge. Stop allowing anything to be the standard just because I say it, just because I write it. I tell people all the time, look it up. Make sure it's concrete. Go for the facts. Don't just accept because this is what's said and presented to you. Because it is for a lack of knowledge, honestly and truly, that we perish.
To learn more about Sabrina Harris and the House of Loveillionaires, contact 561-352-5418 or email houseofloveillionaires@yahoo.com.